For over half a century, one man's shadow loomed large over the island of Cuba, casting a defiant silhouette against the might of the United States. This is the story of Fidel Castro, the revolutionary who transformed a Caribbean nation and challenged a superpower just 90 miles from its shore. How did a lawyer from a wealthy family become one of the most iconic and controversial figures of the 20th century? Born in 1926 to a prosperous Spanish landowner, the young Fidel was intelligent, ambitious, and deeply passionate about social justice. While studying law at the University of Havana, he was immersed in the turbulent political climate of the time. He saw firsthand the deep-seated corruption and the immense gap between the rich elite and the impoverished masses under the U.S.-backed dictator Juan Batista. This experience ignited a fire within him, a belief that only a radical overhaul could save his country. His first major act of rebellion was a daring but disastrous attack on the Moncada barracks in 1953. The assault failed, and Castro was captured. During his trial, he famously delivered a 4-hour speech, concluding with the prophetic words, "Condemn me, it does not matter. History will absolve me." Though sentenced to 15 years, he was released after just 2. Due to public pressure, this failure, ironically, became the seed of his legend, turning him into a symbol of resistance. Exiled to Mexico, Castro didn't waste a moment. He gathered a small band of loyal followers, including his brother Raul and a charismatic Argentine doctor named Ernesto Che Guevara. Together, they planned their return. In 1956, 82 revolutionaries crammed onto a leaky yacht named Grandma and set sail for Cuba. Their landing was a catastrophe. Ambushed by Batista's forces, only about 20 of them, including Fidel, Raul, and Che, managed to escape into the rugged Sierra Maestra mountains. From this remote wilderness, they began a brilliant guerrilla campaign. It was a classic underdog story. They lived off the land, gained the trust and support of the local peasant population by promising land reform and literacy, and conducted hit-and-run attacks on Batista's army. Castro proved to be a master of propaganda, using a secret radio station, Radio Rebelde, to broadcast his revolutionary message across the island, inspiring more and more Cubans to join his cause. His forces grew from a handful of survivors into a formidable rebel army. Meanwhile, Batista's regime was crumbling from within. Its brutality and corruption alienated the public and even its powerful American allies. The U.S., seeing the tide turn, eventually imposed an arms embargo on Batista, sealing his fate. By the end of 1958, Castro's guerrillas were sweeping through the country. On January 1st, 1959, Fulgencio Batista fled Cuba. Days later, Fidel Castro triumphantly entered Havana, greeted by ecstatic crowds. The revolution had won. Initially, Castro's revolution wasn't explicitly communist. He promised democracy and social reforms. However, his actions quickly set him on a collision course with the United States. He nationalized American-owned businesses, sugar plantations, and oil refineries, worth billions of dollars, without what the U.S. considered adequate compensation. He implemented sweeping land reforms, breaking up large estates and redistributing land to peasants. These moves were celebrated by many Cubans but horrified the American government and business community. The U.S. responded with escalating hostility. It imposed a trade embargo, which would become one of the longest lasting in modern history. The CIA began plotting to overthrow him, culminating in the infamous Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. A force of CIA-trained Cuban exiles attempted to invade the island, but the operation was a complete failure. Castro's forces swiftly defeated the invaders, handing him a massive propaganda victory and pushing him further into the arms of America's Cold War rival, the Soviet Union. Following the Bay of Pigs, Castro officially declared Cuba a socialist state. This alliance with the Soviets led to the most dangerous moment of the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962. The world held its breath for 13 days after the discovery of Soviet nuclear missiles on Cuban soil. Though the crisis was resolved through a tense negotiation between Kennedy and Khrushchev, it cemented Cuba's position as a key battleground in the global ideological struggle. Under Castro, Cuba underwent a profound transformation. His government launched massive literacy campaigns that nearly wiped out illiteracy. It created a universal healthcare system that became a model for the developing world, producing more doctors per capita than many developed nations. These social achievements were a source of immense national pride. However, this progress came at a steep price. Castro established a one-party state with himself as the absolute leader. All political opposition was crushed. The press was controlled by the state, dissidents were imprisoned, and thousands fled the island, seeking freedom and economic opportunity in the United States and elsewhere. The economy, heavily dependent on Soviet aid and crippled by the U.S. embargo, often struggled, leading to rationing and shortages. For decades, Castro was a giant on the world stage, a symbol of anti-imperialism for revolutionary movements across Latin America, Africa, and Asia. He sent Cuban troops to support leftist governments and rebels, most notably in Angola, playing a significant role in the fight against apartheid in South Africa. He outlasted 10 U.S. presidents, each of whom tried and failed to remove him. In 2008, facing declining health, Fidel Castro officially stepped down, transferring power to his brother Raul. He passed away in 2016 at the age of 90. His legacy remains fiercely debated. Was he a heroic liberator who freed his people from foreign domination and brought them education and healthcare? Or was he a ruthless dictator who denied his people basic freedoms and wrecked their economy? The truth, as is often the case, is complex and lies somewhere in between. Fidel Castro was a revolutionary who defied a superpower, reshaped the nation, and left an indelible, complicated mark on the history of the 20th century. Thank you so much for watching. What are your thoughts on Fidel Castro's legacy? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into historical figures. See you next time.